Here I'll be talking about ARS VIva Voce or personal interview. In fact, they call it as only personal interview. And they call letters they send you. They'll call you for a personal interview at the SRB. So the picture that is given here is a dart game. I'll be telling about it over a period of time. First thing is personal interview is the third stage of the ARS examination. And it is also called Viva Voce, a word originated from medieval Latin, where it literally means, translates as with the living voice. In Hindi, it's called Maukik or Sakshatkar. Viva Voce is an examination conducted by speech communication. In Viva Voce, you have to answer questions posed by examiners and then engage with them in to demonstrate your knowledge on the subject. So this is actually talking about the understanding the person in the personal interview. And then in personal interview is a candidate is interviewed by a panel of examiners. Here, when I say panel, there will be a group of people, examiners sitting in the behind the table, and then you will be going and then sitting in front of them. The examiners will be headed by a chairman, and then among the panel members, at least 3-4 members will be the experts on the subject matter. If it is agronomy, there will be agronomists. If it is genetics, there will be plant breeders. Or if it is extension, the extension people will be there. So these people will be continuously asking questions on the subject matter itself. And of course, there will be 1 or 2 other members who are professors from SCUs, again from the same discipline or other disciplines. And then 1 member may be representing the ASRB also. So these members, the members will be asking questions in general knowledge, or maybe general type of questions will be there. And they may be asking questions on lateral thinking, or maybe general knowledge, or simple or tough questions also sometimes. And then interview may be done, usually conducted for about 15 to 30 minutes, depending on the candidate. And then if the candidate is interesting, and then they may take more time. And then if the candidate is not so interesting, they'll complete it within 15 minutes. Because here it's the first 5 minutes are most important for any interview. In the first 5 minutes only, the candidate will be assessed, and then they put a that's the final result will be done only within 5 minutes. And then if they are interested, then they keep on asking for more questions and the general questions, and then engage in some personal conversation also. And then here, attending the personal interview does not ensure your selection. That's one thing you need to understand, because 1:5 persons, or maybe 1:10 times also, there will be 10 people will be called for 1 vacancy, or maybe 5 people called for 1 vacancy. So that's again tough game. In personal interview, the candidate's personality is assessed on several parameters, such as sociability, agreeableness, intelligence, character, integrity, and articulative ability, communication skills. However, the focus will be on clarity in fundamental concepts. Whatever be the discipline, either agronomy or entomology or pathology or agriculture extension or economics, whatever be the topic, the clarity in the fundamental concepts is very important. And then the command and the subject, and then proficiency in the research methods, because this is a research service, so the person should be also be good in subject matter and in the knowledge part as well as the method part also, because science contains two parts: the storehouse part, that is the amount of knowledge that is generated already, and then the process of generating, and then the method of generating information, that is the research methods. So one should be good in both these, as well as the both these things, both in the knowledge as well as the discipline of the, and as well as the research methods in that discipline. And then of course the focus will also be then to know what the candidate knows or and does not know about the discipline or the subject. So they'll sometimes the questioning will go on till a logical end, where the person will say, I don't know anything further. So sometimes they also go to that level where how much the person knows and how much the person does not know. And then the research aptitude. Here, since it's a research service examination, the mostly from MSc and PhD thesis, questions will be asked to find out whether the person, what is the interest shown by the researcher in completing his MSc thesis or PhD thesis, and then the related questions, and then subject research methods, and then research themes that also may be asked. Maybe in a particular discipline, what are the present current research themes and research trends going on? And so most questions will be on the research part only. And then there will be some questions about communication skills, both in the written part and then the spoken part, because ultimately the ARS service is one should be good in English communication, because you will be writing a lot of reports, writing proposals, and then the research reports and all that. So we have communication skills in English as well as in the local language, either in Hindi language or maybe in the vernacular language of the state where you are working is important, because you will be required to interact with farmers who do not know English also. So you need to and have both English language, the knowledge of English language as well as the local language. And then honesty, integrity, and then strength of mind of the to cope with strength of mind to cope with the stress. This is one thing that is also asked, because research service is a tough job, and then it requires long hours of work as well as working in the field, and then going out on tours. So you need to cope with the stress and cope with the deadlines, and then you need to maintain your ethics, research ethics. So your strength of mind is very important here. And then coming to the personal interview, one more thing I need to understand, tell you here. Even if the most qualified and then the best knowledgeable persons need to prepare well for the examination, for the personal interview, because interview skills are learned, and then there are no second chances to make a good first impression. So you need to practice it again in front of the mirror, in front of the people, or maybe you need to make a group of people, two or three people sitting together and asking questions among themselves, and then observing and then giving feedback to the person, so that your speech is good and then your uh, answer is correctly worded. All these things has to be properly done. So since it is a learned skills are learned, you need to practice it and learn well. So that's very important. Usually in a interview, the personality aspects will be interviewed. As I was telling you, the personal aspects like the physical appearance. Here I'll be talking about both some general topics as well as some psychological concepts also. So please bear with me for a small period of time, so that you need to understand these personality aspects. First is physical appearance. Second, character, sociability and agreeableness, and then other articulative ability. I'll be explaining all these things slowly, one by one. And then intelligence, emotional intelligence, and then transactional analysis and ego states of people, and then openness to new experience, and then self-image. So first, coming to physical appearance, good dressing sense is required, and then dress yourself formally and then comfortably. Do not wear any casual dress or jeans, because it's a formal occasion and formal interview. And then wear clothes appropriate to your age and then body size, neither too tight or too loose. And then coming to physical experience, of course, face should be clear. You need to the face is the index of human mind. And then hair dressing is important. You should be well groomed. And then health and well-being, you should also be good looking and then healthy looking. And then you should have dressing sense, and then you should have good mannerisms. And then non-verbal expression should be appropriate, and of course self-image. And then coming to again physical appearance, be in a presentable manner, dress well, comfortably, and usual dress, and then wear a smile on your face, on your lips, glow on your face, and then sparkle in your eyes. And then you should show enthusiasm and then eagerness, and also modesty, and then respect. All these should be shown in your physical appearance, in your face. Then coming to the second part, character. So maybe when you're talking to people, you'll be able to understand whether the person is of good character, whether he's good or bad. So same thing will be assessed in the interview also. Do not in very clear terms, and then giving a stamp and all that, but then they'll be understanding whether the person is good in or bad. Like in this character relates to individuals' qualities and characteristics which differentiate him or her from others. And then here is a demeanor. Demeanor is what is there? The way a person behaves, speaks, looks, etc. And then this show what the character is like. And then coming to agreeableness and sociability, agreeableness is a personality trait manifesting itself in individuals' behavioral characteristics that are perceived as kind, sympathetic, cooperative, warm, and considerate. And then sociability is a tendency and accompanying skills to engage in interpersonal relations and then participate in social and team activities. Since this job requires a lot of team activity and then teamwork, because a group of scientists work together, so team spirit and then team building is very important. So agreeableness and sociability is very important. And then articulativity. Articulation means ability to express your ideas and feelings very clearly. This is very important thing. This requires communication skills. The being articulate is the first and then foremost skill that an interviewer must possess, must master. And then articulate ability also means that to articulate means to able to express thoughts and feelings equally, exactly, and then clearly and easily. That's very important. And then to acquire this skill, one has to learn grammar and in English, and then Hindi well, and then learn translation also, or any local language. So if you are good in communication skills, you should be also be good in language skills, because that's how you use language to express your thoughts and feelings clearly and very easily to others. And then intelligence. Intelligence usually is about the ability to understand, learn, and think. Of course, using the multiple intelligence theory of Gardner's, there are 8 intelligences. So all these intelligences will be learned over a period of time. We'll be able to use the kinesthetic intelligence, physical intelligence, and then logical intelligence, and then interpersonal intelligence, intrapersonal intelligence. All these are important. And then emotional intelligence. This is one thing that you need to understand. Here, emotional intelligence is ability, the ability to perceive, use, and understand, manage, and handle emotions. So you'll be like you need to understand your emotions properly. Like you may be getting anger, you may be having fears, you may be having compassion, love. All these are emotions. Both, some may be positive, some may be negative. You need to be able to understand them properly and then manage and handle them properly. In a team work, many of these emotions come to play, and then your capacity to understand is very important. So the capacity to be aware of and then control and then express one's emotions and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and then empathetically. That's very important. And then emotional intelligence is the key to both personal as well as professional success. Many times it has been found that intelligent people with less emotional intelligence are less successful. That is, people of same intelligence, but varying degrees of emotional intelligence perform differently, because emotional intelligence is what matters even better, even more important than normal intelligence. So, and then self-awareness, self-regulation, social skills, motivation, and then empathy. These are the 5 key components of emotional intelligence. You need to understand them and then master them. And then transaction analysis. Of course, you must have heard about this. These are called ego states. The ego states refer to 3 major types of individuals' personality parameters, like parent, adult, and child. And then they each reflect an entire system of thoughts, feelings, and behavior. So one need to understand these ego states in which a person is working, and then you learn about it yourself and use it when you're interacting intellectually, curious, and then creative, and then imaginative. Of course, research process is itself is a imaginative and creative process and requires intellectual creativity. So and since you're discovering new facts and then understanding and then uncovering new information in research work, so this openness to new experience and then ability to understand and then ability to cope with new experiences is very important. And then self-image is important, because how we think about ourselves and then how we interact with others and the world around us is dependent upon how we think about ourselves. So every person will have a self-image. Suppose so what is self-image? So what do you think of yourself? So self-image is the personal view and then mental picture of that we have of ourselves. Sorry, the mistake here. Ourselves, and then self-image is dynamic and keeps changing. Self-image is a product of our learning process, and then self-image is uh, is an informal internal dictionary that that describes the characteristics of self, in including such things as being intelligent or kind or beautiful or ugly or talented, bold or selfish. These characteristics form a collective representation of our assets, that is strengths, and our limitation, that is weaknesses, as you see them. So our strengths and weaknesses can be seen in our self-image. Suppose if you see a cat is a cat as you see it and as I see it. But if you ask cat, who are you? What do you think of yourself? Mr. Cat will think for a while and say, I think I'm like a lion. I see myself as a lion. I feel like a lion. I think like a lion. I'm a lion. So the self-image of a cat is maybe like this. So what do you do when you look at yourself, your face? When you want to look at your face, what do you do? We can see ourselves, our hands, our legs, our body through with our eyes, but we cannot see our own face with our eyes. So we look into a mirror to see our face. This image we see in the mirror may be a real one or a distorted one, one version, distorted one version of who we really are. And then this image in the mirror is what actually matters, and we keep conversing with that image. This is self-image. The person looks at the image and then sees himself. But he also look at the mirror and then thinks he's a Superman. You think you're a Superman or a Spider-Man or a Catwoman. In every person, there is a Gangadhar who wants to be a Shaktiman. So the image that we have is what actually matters. So the perception of that about ourselves, about what we think, becomes the base of this perception pyramid. And then what we say, if it is dependent on what we think, and then what we say is depending on what we do, and then how we look at the world, and then how we behave, and then how others look at it. It all depends on how we think and what we think about ourselves. So here, when you see the mirror, it may be distorted. Either it may have a positive image or a negative self-image. With a positive self-image, we recognize our assets and potentials and then strengths, while being realistic about our liabilities, limitations, and weaknesses. But with a negative self-image, we focus on faults and then weaknesses, distorting failures and then imperfections. A positive self-concept can boost our physical, mental, social and emotional, and then spiritual well-being. On the other hand, a negative self-image can decrease our satisfaction and ability to function in all areas of physical, mental, social, and emotional spheres. So the self-image that we have, either a good positive self-image or negative self-image, is actually what matters a lot here. We need to develop a positive self-image so that it works well for us. So a positive self-image works like an upward spiral, or maybe letting you upward moving steps, letting you make up and then scale new heights in career and life. But a negative self-image works like a downward spiral and then causing distortions in our personality, leading to feelings of inferiority complex, and then going down the abyss. So this is what actually happens with positive and self-image. So we need to understand and then cultivate a good self-image, and then you need to be kind to your mind. Recently, I was reading a newspaper clipping where I saw, be kind to your mind, because everything is in your mind, in your perception. Who you think you are is in your perception. But then who you think you are is what matters a lot. And then why I'm telling all this is the positive self-image is what is required for a good interview also. When you present yourself, because you're presenting your self-image to them. The way you think and then way you talk all depends on your own self-image. So there are some specific steps to develop self-image, and I may not be reading all of them. So you can go through it when you get this slideshow and then read for yourself. And then now I'm going to give some guides and tips for better interviews. First thing is introduce yourself. Do not start with the usual pattern like myself is so and so. That's very bad sentence. Always say I am so and so. And then I did my primary education here at so and so place. And then I did my schooling and then higher education. And then like keep on telling like that. And make the most of it by detailing on first divisions, awards, and then extracurricular activities, sports, etc. Because this is where you need to assert yourself and then tell about yourself. And then tell about the research topic of your thesis and then your special interests, research interests. As you introduce yourself, you say few names of places or towns, districts, and then states. So board members may ask about some places, their geographical locations. So you need to have good geographical and then historical knowledge, and then also about the historical importance of the places. And then be well aware of agroclimatic zones of India as well as of your state. So these normal questions that people may ask when you are introducing yourself at the beginning itself. Mind you, your speech matters a lot. Speak clearly, uttering each word so that it is clearly audible and to the members and understood by the members. When speaking, do not speak as you are memorizing slowly. Speak spontaneously and in your usual pace. And then practice your speech, your answers to common questions, so you may not fumble at the time of your personal interview. So there will be some common questions, to answer them properly. And then listening is also very important. Do not be slow like a snail, and then do not be like a frog in the well. Be updated, get in touch with latest developments in the science, in your discipline. Don't be like Kupastamandukam. That's the Sanskrit word, frog in the well. And then be a good listener, like a deer. See its ears. It's very keenly observes and listens to each sound, lest its life may be in danger. The good listening skills are very important. You need to be alert, to listen to interviewers, and then clear listening is necessary. Let me tell you a few questions here. When I attended my first MSc interview, the first question that was asked by late Dr. Y.P. Singh was, is extension a physical science or a biological science? Let me repeat the question. Is extension a physical science or a biological science? Of course, Dr. Y.P. Singh did not repeat it. I was keenly listening to it. My answer was, it's neither, sir. Actually, it's a social science. So if you are not able to listen properly, the question is very misleading also. You should be able to listen properly. Then listening is one of the most crucial interview tips here. Be alert and listen carefully. If you are not sure, you may ask, pardon me, please, pardon me, sir, or pardon me, madam, but do not assume things. Because if you assume and then try to answer, you will be giving a wrong answer, and then they will be stand to correction, and then that's very wrong approach to the whole issue. And then sometimes the interviewer will ask a question, a simple one to answer, in a very confusing way. If you do not listen properly, you may fail to answer properly. So you should be very clear in listening first. And then good communication skills also include good listening skills. And then observe your interviewer and then match that style and pace of the examiner. Because you need to answer in the same tone and same manner. Sometimes the questions will be very easy, sometimes questions will be tough. So you frame your sentences properly and then practice them properly. So be alert and then quick to respond to like a deer. Have a good presence of mind. The being alert actually allows you to have good presence of mind. Your mindfulness helps you to answer questions well as you understand the question situations properly. So being alert helps you to be ready to respond quickly and then spontaneously. So being like having a presence of mind is very important. Many times the questions and then the will be little tough or maybe little confusing or maybe in a framed in a sentence, framed with words that may be confusing. So you need to understand them, what actually is being asked. So work on your answers is one thing that you need to understand. So prepare well thought out answers. Well thought out answers to questions that are most likely to be asked. Like maybe one example I can give you. One question that was asked is, so why should we study sociology and psychology in extension? Why do we study sociology and psychology in extension? The answer I gave is, that was in my MSc interview. That was the second question that was asked. The answer is, extension aims at changing the behavior. If you want to change behavior, you need to understand behavior and study behavior. You need to study human behavior, that is psychology, and social behavior, that is sociology. So until unless you practice it thoroughly, you'll not be able to answer them the way I did it. So we were practicing, of course, many of my seniors around, all the seniors that I mentioned, they all took at least half an hour to 1 hour to train me for 2 days for my MSc interview. That's the practice at IRA, where seniors train juniors, and then this is a culture that is passed on, and then I train my students, and then any person who comes for help will be given training in both speech, speaking clearly, writing answers properly, and then telling answers in simple words. So all these things are very important. So well thought out answers are important. So as they are doing it, and then you should tell it in a way that you are just then discovered those words. Yeah. Although you have thoroughly practiced them and then rehearsed them very well. So that gives a good thematic appeal also to the answer. And then practice good non-verbal communication. So as you enter the interview room, you bow and then say good morning. And then your mannerism should be, most of the things will be without even telling words. You will be smiling them and smiling at them, looking at them. You'll be using a lot of non-verbal communication. And then there should be also be appropriate also. It is about demonstrating confidence. You should be sitting straight and then not bend too low or bow low, and make a good eye contact with the examiner who is asking questions to you, and then answer them by looking at him or her. And then good non-verbal communication can make a good beginning and a quick ending, or a quick ending to your interview. So good non-verbal communication, which is done appropriately, will be a good beginning to the interview. And any wrong non-verbal communication will immediately end your interview also. Because anything with your gestures and with your eyes, you'll be conveying so many things. You should be careful about how you look at people, how you smile at them. All these things you should be careful about your non-verbal communication and your gestures. Honesty. Honesty is one thing that you need to understand properly, because you need to be, you need to possess integrity, truthfulness, and honesty. In answering questions, if you know, answer them properly. If you do not know the answer for a particular question, have the courage to say, I do not know, sir, I do not know, madam. Admitting your ignorance does not look good, does not look bad, because you're admitting your ignorance. Saying no is not a bad thing. Saying that I do not know is not a bad thing. It's good one. But trying to bluff them or beat around the bush with many words, indefinitely speaking, will not be good. Will definitely not good at all. You should be very careful in admitting whenever you don't know. That is being honest to yourself and to the people also. And then being overconfident. This should not be there. So, command in subject is one thing that is in clarity of conceptual understanding is very important. There is no alternative to mastery of subject. On one hand, I already told you about this thing. Basic conceptual understandings need to be very clear and in your mind. And then on the other hand, you should also be having mastery of research methods, the designs, and statistics is also very necessary. So having command in the subject as well as in the research methods is very important. And then do not talk too much. Sometimes you will be flown by the usual speech or maybe knowing the answers thoroughly. That's not good at all. So telling the interview more than he or she needs to know could be a fatal mistake. You should be appropriately telling your answer to the question that is asked, not more, not less. So what you have not when you have not prepared ahead of time, you may variable will answer. You may answer very wrongly also. So you should be having well thought out answers and then prepare well. And then if you do not prepare well, you'll be talking too much. That's not good. And then do not be too familiar. The personal interview is a professional meeting to talk business, to select best candidates for the ARS. This is not about making a new friend or maybe chatting with known friends. You may see one of the members of the panel of the interview board has known to you personally and then quite familiar. But you need to keep calm, and it's not at all appropriate to tell about you being familiar with them. Do not overstep your place as a candidate for the selection process. So maybe you may be knowing the person, you may be familiar with him, but then that can be done after the interview is over. But in the interview room, you should not overstep your limits of being in a formal situation among the formal people. And then if any amount of showing of familiarity may look very awkward for the other person also. And then use appropriate language. It is given that you should use only the professional language during the interview. Be aware of any inappropriate slang words or any references to age, sex, religion, caste, or politics. Such bad words, if uttered by you, can send you can send you out the door very quickly. Sorry, a lot of mistakes are there here. Here, what I meant to say here is any inappropriate language is not good. Like saying like, yeah, instead of telling yes. Yes, sir, yes, madam is appropriate word. Yeah, yep, these are not admissible. Similarly, using words like referring to age or sex, or maybe using some region or religion, any references, bad words and any inappropriate words should not be used. And then being overconfident is also not good. Do not be so overconfident about yourself. And then do not show off your attitude boldly. Attitude plays a key role in your interview success. You need to maintain a good balance between confidence, professionalism, and modesty. Overconfidence is bold, if not worse, as being too reserved also. So sometimes being overconfident is also not good. Maybe you must be seeing that some of the members are known to you. You may feel little easy and confident, but then that overconfidence is not good, and your attitude will definitely play an important role here. Finally, I need to come to some few sentences here. Personal interview at the ARS is like a dartboard game. Why I'm telling you, I'll be slowly telling you in few slides. First thing, right answers to few questions will bring in success. Any wrong answers will lead to failure. So try to answer questions correctly in the first attempt itself. There is no second chance. In fact, it has been mentioned in the researches that first 5 minutes is the one that actually will decide whether the person is good enough, or because first few dots that are placed, if they are not placed at the right center of the dartboard, then your marks will be deducted. The right answers in the first three, 4 questions, if you are giving right answers to first 3, 4 questions, that will actually give you success. How? I'll be telling about it. Here, you lost it here because all the 3 dots that are placed at different place. Here, all the 3 dots at the center. You won it here. If you closely observe here, the reliability as well as validity are important. Validity as well as reliability. Your answer should be valid and good enough, and then there should be reliable. That is, consistently you should give. Here in the first circle, first dartboard, all the dots that are given are unreliable and invalid. But here in the second part, they may be reliable. They're closer because they're closer together, but not valid. They're again far off. Here they're all far off. But then here, all are at the center in the third one, where both are reliable and then valid also. And then, of course, I'm telling about the dartboard as included in the stars. We're talking about luck. Chance favors the prepared mind. There's an old saying which tells that if you are able to prepare well, the gods will also be with you. The stars will also be with you. Because chance favors the prepared mind. If you are well prepared for the interview, well prepared for the examination, those stars will also favor you. This is the old saying that usually given by astrologers, It's not that you give everything to the chance. That is, you are putting a lamp in the outdoors and then leaving it to the winds and then leaving it to the gods, that God will take care of it. No, nothing will happen. Nothing of that sort will happen. You should prepare well. You should also do all your what all you can do as a human being. Then God will also be there. That is, as a human being, you should give put in all your human effort. Then the divine support also will come to you. Confidence comes from like that. So best of luck. And then here, lastly, I want to tell some final advice. Any amount of advice will still seem insufficient, as anything can happen in a personal interview. So no one has seen another personal interview. You are witness to only your interview. So enjoy your own interview, personal interview, as it will be unique and special, because you as a person is actually a unique person, and there is no other person like you in this world. So you have your own unique abilities, unique expressions, and then unique capacities. Put them all to test in your personal interview. So thank you very much.